What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Prophecy Podcast. I'm Obese the Prophet, your host. Tonight we got a super special show. Super duper talented Genius Black is with us tonight. I'm back to having my co-host with me again. I'm liking it. We get to vibe off each other, and it's like no other. So it's always the best when the co-host is here. So first and foremost, let me jump into the sponsors as I usually do. The Prophecy Podcast is brought to you by mpcstuff.com. Hundreds of replacement and upgrade products for any MPC or other Akai machines. Quality products, fast shipping, and I personally stand behind their products and respect our partnership tremendously. I Regret Nothing Apparel. I want to shout them out. They're going through like a revamp of their website. So it's kind of, the website is up. Their Instagram, they're revamping and they're putting out a bunch of new designs. So I want to shout them out for that. They'll be back up on IG soon. They got some of the most relevant social messages and designs, top quality materials. Proud to have them as a sponsor. Stand behind them 100%. And we absolutely love that they're a Black-owned main small business. It really doesn't get any better than that. Of course, we got Fire on 4 down at 367 4th Street. Our smoke break is brought to you by them, as usual, every week. Stop in if you get your med card for high-quality cannabis products and friendly, knowledgeable staff. We'll help you out with anything you need down there. If you're looking for music videos, websites, graphic design, promos, playlist placements, whatever, pretty much we can handle it over at Elevate Audio and Visual. Check out elevateaudioandvisual.com for more information on that. What's happening in Boston? Love that they're posting lots more events now that stuff's opening up all across New England. Shows are starting to happen. We love that. We love to see people coming out for that. Check out what's happening in Boston. They always are up to date with all the events all throughout New England. And of course, last but not least, Bars Over Bars. Shout out to the team at Bars Over Bars for making this whole podcast thing possible. So without further ado, co-host Justin Martin. What's up?
Why, hello.
How's it going?
Chilling, I'm out here in the foliage.
So it's not mosquito season yet down there in
No. I mean, maybe it is, but I don't have any by my house, so
well, that's
I'm
nice.
not getting eaten alive tonight. So if I was, I'd be inside.
That's nice. So yeah, we got Genius Black with us tonight. Super duper talented artist who I've never met in person, but I was kind of introduced through Shamik when we were working on our project. He had sent some stuff to him to be mastered, and then I got introduced to his music, and I was just like, blown away. Super talented. So yeah, without further ado, let's bring in Genius Black. Hey, how's it going? Good to have you on.
See you, bro. Appreciate it.
Good to have you on. Been a long time coming, but we're here finally, coming out of the pandemic. I'm feeling good about it. As far as being able to move around a little bit more than previous anyway. How you doing?
Man, been definitely feeling like that flow of life coming back around me as well.
Yeah.
I was walking around the other day in the old port and I was like, dang, look at all these people, man. There's so much life, like for real. So but yeah, it was cool, and I'm feeling that too, man. I've been feeling blessed. In real life, also having, anxiety and worries and things, trying to balance everything. But I like that. I really like feeling that overall energy, the creativity, people, it's not just the sadness of some of the businesses that shut down. Right. People are starting to recognize that we can reutilize those spaces. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's about like, okay, what's next? So I'm digging that energy. But yeah. That's stuff that's been on my mind,
Yeah, that definitely, the show thing was one of my main things too. Like, I love shows, going to shows, and just vibing, networking, and seeing what's out there. And not being able to was a bad hamper. Like, I was just like, But I feel like we're getting through it. And I'm not going to say everything's all gravy yet, but I mean, we are getting through it. Things are getting better, so I'm happy about that. I'm able to travel around and do more visual things like I wanted to do, and I don't have to be stuck in the studio in front of a microphone or making beats. I'm kind of trying to diversify it,
Yeah.
So yeah, it feels good for that. But enough about me and what I'm into. Why don't we get into Just basically like, your hometown, your self story, how you got your name, how long you've been making music, stuff like that. Kind of like a guest introduction, if you will.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. So I'll start with where I'm from, and then I can tell you a little bit about how I got the name Genius Black, because I was yeah. So I am from Dallas, Texas, originally, right? That's I was born, and I grew up in Texas, from youth to through elementary, middle school, high school, playing football, running track. Used to do long jump, high jump. I used to do a lot of high jump. You know what I'm saying? I remember hitting that bar a bunch of times. I cleared it a bunch too, but you know what I'm saying? Like learning how to do it and trying
Yeah.
to push my body, trying to raise the bar and stuff. Like fit, like literally.
Hmm.
And so I did a lot of sports and stuff. Had a couple of knee injuries and hampered some things, slowed some things down. But for me, school was I was always into academics. Like I always I was like really curious in school, and I was like the person who would raise their hand or just start talking or whatever. And I like to write and stuff like that. Like ever since I was a little kid. So yeah, school is kind of a vibe for me. Not every class, not every teacher, but
Right.
you know what I mean. For the most part, and yeah. But I grew up in Grand Prairie, excuse me, I'm gonna say it, Grand Prairie, Texas. I guess
Hmm.
we say GP or Grand Prairie, you know, really slow it down like that. But um, that was like in between Dallas and Fort Worth, which Dallas and Fort Worth are two huge, gigantic cities. They call it the Metroplex. And right kind of in the middle of that, like next to Arlington, where there's like Six Flags, is Grand Prairie. Went to high school there. Shout out to Gophers. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean that's where I'm from, and just came to Maine. Um, like, well, I guess I'll say this: when I was a kid, like in Texas growing up, um, for me, a lot of that was aside from the sports, it was the creativity. I even started like when I was like maybe 15 or 16. Like, I guess talk about something maybe a little relevant, like in where I grew up. Even a
Hmm.
piece of that for me started with going to the studio. You know, like even before I kind of made it to the studio, I remember one time my cousin had let me borrow this keyboard that you could make like 4 tracks of like recording or like some basic, super basic. But I had been in choir and stuff, and I in choir and singing for a couple of years, and so there was like music in my head. And so I started messing with that, and that's one of the first things where I ever made a beat. I was probably like 13, 14. By the time I was 15, me and my homeboy Ma, my homeboy Marcus Wells, he's super dope producer and engineer, producer, artist. Me and him was going to the studio out in Dallas. We used to have to drive out there. It was called Ghetto House. Ghetto House Studios is legendary in Texas and
Hmm.
Dallas. The homie Norbiega, his son DJ Norbiega, Lil Norby, DJ Lil Norby, and like they're legends in that area. So many people, like I remember back in the day, PD Pablo went through that studio, like back when he was trying to make a string of hits. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much stuff that y'all heard of, from down in that part of Texas. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I was blessed to be able to get up in there, spend a little time. First time I started seeing Logic Pro. First time I really like seeing like people who came to the studio like, I'm a rapper, I'm rapping, I'm smoking my blunts, I'm getting on the mic, I'm taking feedback, boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? Like a studio vibe.
Yeah.
And they had a dope ass sound. Norby always had that shit cracking and popping. You know what I mean? He just had a dope ass engineering and like all the right plugins and shit. So yeah. Anyway, man, but that's a lot of how I came up or where I came from.
Yeah.
I could, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, that's dope, man. And so, when did you come to Maine? Did you say?
Oh, I came to Maine in the year 2000. In the
Okay.
year 2000, yeah.
Yeah. So you've been here a while, and you were making music the whole time you were out here, right? Kind
Yeah,
of. Yeah.
yeah. Actually, I mean, there's been times when I have to have like a very pared down setup, but
Yeah.
it's like the only time, man. I recently in my life because I'm so busy with the businesses we have and stuff.
Hmm.
That's like some of the time in my life where I would say I've had the longest breaks of not like creating music. But like
Hmm.
I've been a very regular music maker. I mean, I guess when I was first in college, I didn't have enough gear to make music every day. And in high school, it was definitely the first like 15, 16, 17, even 18 years old. I can only have so much access. I didn't have money. And
Right.
once
Hmm.
they let us use the studio free a couple times, but then when I didn't have money, I couldn't go. I can only go so often.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are also the days right before coming to Bowdoin, I would say, is when like growing up is just let me back up for a second if that's cool.
Mm.
I was just gonna say the name Genius, because people often ask me where my name comes from, and I've had it since I was a kid. It also came from when I was in Texas. You know what I mean? So like when I was a little kid, I was literally always known as like super nerdy. I love nerds, and the idea of being nerdy, I don't have that. To me, that's nothing negative, nothing bad at all. I was always very intelligent and would talk to adults and would, again, focus in school. And I used to take things apart, put them together, and love electronics and stuff. For me, that started when I was young. We didn't have a lot of money, but when I did have access to any of those things, you know what I mean? Like I had a natural kind of knack for it and curiosity. And people would notice that about me inside of school, outside of school. And I remember one time in where we used to live in Royal Oaks, shout out Royal Oaks, 303 Highway. And that was the little apartment building complex we lived in. And Miss Tweet, which was the grandmother of my homeboy, Patrick Sneed, also a super dope artist and rapper, that I grew up around. And Miss Tweet, somebody had found a computer. Like I remember this. Somebody had found a computer. You know how it comes with the different pieces back in the day, you gotta like plug in this and that in the back of it or whatever. They had no clue because they just didn't. And Miss Tweet was like, "Yo, go get Genius. Just go get Genius. He'll figure it out." Right? And that's something she had kind of started referring to. And they came and they got me. I remember they went from the back of the Royal, where they live, came up, boom. I'll come out, go back there with them. They show me what's up. Boom. I turn around, look at the little colors, figure that shit out. And then, hey, it worked or whatever, right? And, things like that stuck. And then for me, I just kind of would play with that particularly once I started rapping, when I was like 16, 17, when I started rapping, I would use Genius because I thought it was a cool name as a rapper. And it was literally already my nickname that some people would call me when they saw me. So I was like, yeah, that's dope.
Easy.
But, yeah. And so I'll say this. That's when it comes together and it comes to Bowdoin College. Because that's when I added the black. Right? So that's when the moniker became Genius Black. So like I said, in 2000, when I came to Bowdoin College, and I got some scholarship money and some loan money, things like that to go to Bowdoin. And since I had done pretty well in school, I got in and they brought me up there to visit beforehand. And I got, it was a pretty dope situation in terms of education. But of course, I was like leaving Texas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to Maine.
Yeah.
But small liberal arts college. I mean, not to say that it's stereotypical, but I mean like that. Those kind of standards do tell you some things about it. But yeah, it was very different from me. I'll tell you that. New England in general was different. I actually enjoyed my time at Bowdoin. It was difficult at the beginning because private school was very different from what I had been doing. I think intellectually I was at a good place, but study skill wise and proficiency at that and like those systems, I just hadn't mastered. So the classes for me, like I would have like in a semester out of 4 classes, there'd be like 2 classes that I was crushing and 2 I was struggling in. And it just had to do with like the style and me not understanding how to like wrap my head around how to finish all the homework. Never mind what we talk about in class. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Pretty much the same way for me too. When I ended up going to college late. I was like 27 when I started. So, and when I was in school, they would have classified what I was doing as, alternate ed or whatever you want to call it, special ed, whatever it was. But I just didn't want to do the work. And I was like, show up to school and be like, nah, I'm going to go smoke weed instead. You know what I mean? That was kind of the thing. But my teacher was always like, dude, you're so much smarter than that. You could do this. And I'm like, I don't know. So I get older and then I went to school and did it. And it was the same thing for me because I didn't have any study skills at all. I just knew that I had a thirst for knowledge. I'm like, I want to learn all these things. And then like I got there. And like you said, there was a couple classes that were relatively simple, maybe not a lot of homework, or the note taking was easy because the teacher printed off the notes for the fucking class or some easy shit, and I'm like crushing them classes or whatever. And then there was other ones like the most basic of math classes I had to take 3 fucking times, you know what I'm saying? Like, because like I'm just like, I hate math, it's the worst. But like, yeah, I'm kind of like the same way. When I had a computer when I was like, I was like in probably 5th grade, maybe 6th grade. I had a Pentium 486 fucking desktop computer, and I remember taking that thing completely apart, taking everything out of it, putting it back together. Get it put back together. You got like 8 screws left. You're like, I think it's good. It's still good. It's gonna work. You turn it on. It's like, hey, it's working again.
It lit up.
Like, yeah, it's working. Fuck it. I don't need those screws. I'll save them. But like, no, I've had that happen like early on, and like remember playing like Wolfenstein 3D on fucking on that computer, and it'd be so slow. Like be running it, and I'm like trying to make beats on that same computer with one of the original FL Studios and shit, and I don't know how I pulled it off. Fruity Loops like 2 or whatever I was using back in 99 or whatever. But yeah, I mean, similar things. I don't look at being a nerd as a negative thing either, because I think in a way when we're out here creating music like that, a lot of us are fucking nerds. You know what I'm saying? We're fucking stuck behind a computer all the time. We're always like doing graphic designs and fucking editing things and websites. And I mean all that shit. You know what I'm
saying?
We're
all nerds in our own way, you know?
Yeah, everybody is. So it's not like a negative thing at all.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now, typically, we would talk about some like strange news or weird shit that's going on this week. If anything's piqued your interest, I know I got a couple weird stories. And so, what do you got, Justin? You got anything this week of weird shit?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up one of them because I need to reread it. It was like earlier this week, but I got one I found yesterday about, because we had talked about like some weird fucking food recently.
Yes.
And I stumbled across this thing over in Paris. So there's this restaurant called Lorraine Vayette, and they have a new menu item as of May. It's not for the faint-hearted, but they're introducing insects to their menu. And they've started with mealworms. And the European Food Safety Agency in January just deemed that mealworms were fit for human consumption. And in May, so a couple weeks ago, approved its sale on the market. So this restaurant is jumping in with both feet, and they're going hard, and they're making this. Let me see what it was. This dish, a pasta made with mealworm flour.
Yeah.
Larvae.
Mm-hmm.
So they're starting out with mealworms, but they're saying that, you know, it's a very versatile ingredient, and they can use it in, you know, a whole bunch of different things, from curries to salads to, you know, ground it up, make flour for pasta, biscuits, or bread. But they're looking into more insect options on their menu. So they're thinking ahead, like, with the amount of people we're going to have on this earth, this is another, you know, sustainable food source with insects. So they're getting on the bandwagon early. But I found that interesting because we had talked about some really funky shit recently, and mealworms is now a thing.
Years ago, though, I heard years back they were doing that with crickets. They were harvesting crickets and making flour out of crickets, and they had cricket flour that was like a superfood. It's like a fucking super protein food, and I guarantee if someone lined it up and made something with it, you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, you know, people turn their noses up at shit, but I mean, you got to look at all options, especially with what's going on around the fucking world and how things are being harvested and grown and whatever. You got to take a look at all options. Unfortunately, as weird as it may seem, I think that eventually it might come down to something like that. You know what I mean?
Well, you figure with climate change, who knows how that's going to change our food sources and whatnot. So, you know, insects,
a lot more cockroaches around than
right. They're always going to be there. So if we get over that, you know, initial repulsion and we're like, yeah, I eat insects, what? And, you know, it's a normal thing, you know?
Yeah, you know, it is normal, you know what I mean?
Yeah, one thing I would add about that is, like, for me, like, I don't know. I don't necessarily initially have a repulsion to that, because for me, I think just in my studies, I know that, like, all around the world, many cultures have used not even the same, but like different insects in different ways, and it's very normal. So for me, I think it's also like about how much you've been exposed to, just about like, because like I can literally see this. I'm sorry, I don't want this to sound gross, but I'm gonna paint this picture real fast. I can see somebody with like a wok and like some mealworms, sauteing it with some butter, some garlic, and a couple herbs. And like if you put that on a piece of a salad or something, like with the flavor, I don't know, maybe some people would think that's gross, but like the way it would absorb the flavor. Like, again, people have been eating things like that for a long time. So like, I mean, you know, if you're like, oh, what? It's not McDonald's, then yeah, it's fucking weird, right? But you know what I mean? But to y'all's point though, global warming, like, things are shifting and changing. People's awareness is rising, and people are starting to think broader, because like, you have to.
Right. And I mean, mealworms aren't like a huge stretch. It's if you think about it, they look like rice, you know.
Yeah. Easy.
And depending on the insects they start to introduce to this menu, you know, right? Like you can start eating like scorpions and shit. Like then you're getting weird, right? Like
I would have. You know, crunching them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It does get weird, but hey,
Bite
you
the
never know.
stinger off.
Out, right? I mean, you never know until you try this shit out, and you just got to keep all options open. I'm totally down for that. Like, if
the scorpion is badass, bro. If you go and order like a bowl of scorpions, not a scorpion bowl,
right?
A bowl of scorpions, and you start eating that, and you're on a date, that chick's gonna be like, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Exactly. So I have some. I have a funny one from Florida, and it's funny that it's got a Texas connection too, actually. So the title of the article is "How many times can you fall into a storm drain?" Right. So there's a woman who was found and rescued from a storm drain in South Florida. This wasn't recent. I think this was a couple months back, right? She'd been rescued, but the thing is, she had already been rescued from, or she just got rescued from a storm drain in Texas. So, like a couple months ago, she was down in South Florida. She got stuck down there somehow, and she got rescued. And now she did it again out in Texas. So, a woman who spent 3 weeks in a sewer system in Delray Beach disappeared into a storm drain in Texas. So Lindsay Kennedy, 43, was posted on the Grand Prairie Facebook page. So you were just talking about that. Right?
Grand Prairie.
Yeah, Grand Prairie Facebook page. The post said that they were looking for her. 4 days later, the woman was found by her mom and best friend in a nearby canal. She told police in March she went for a swim in the canal near her boyfriend's house as she was curious and that she wandered through the tunnels before getting lost. A little over a week after checking into a rehab facility in Texas, she wandered off and was reported missing by local reporters. So they said the Grand Prairie police spotted Kennedy near a creek, but that when they got closer to her, she slipped into a nearby storm drain. Her family used a tracking app to find her phone. Were able to ping her last location. They entered the underground system, and so began their search. Well, it wasn't the first or second since she fell in twice the time that this happened in 2021. An elderly man fell into a storm drain earlier this year in January. His neighbor found him after he'd fallen 10 feet into the storm drain. Went to took his dog for a walk, and boom, down he went. But the dog stayed behind, and was just running around everywhere. That guy was found right off, though. But this lady was in there for 3 weeks. How you do that?
What the fuck was she eating?
I don't know, but maybe it came down to what we were just talking about. You know what I mean? I mean, you had to do something.
Yeah.
I just find that so strange that story that I had picked out it mentions Grand Prairie.
Right.
I was like, is this real? Is he really saying that?
I was reading it off the website. I was like, damn. Yeah, it's on Audi.com. It's like the third article down. It says how many times can you fall into a storm drain. But yeah, that was weird when you were telling when you were saying that earlier, because I had read this earlier and I was like, Grand Prairie, I think that's in the thing, and I was just waiting for that. That was so weird. It made the connection like that.
Yo, that's wild.
Yeah.
2 times though.
Yeah, hell yeah. There was also a little story too about how AI that was built to identify pastries recognizes cancer with 99% accuracy. So they mistakenly found that it did that. Japanese AI had nothing to do with medicine at all. It inadvertently made great contribution to global health, though. So it's called Bakery Scan, if you're wondering. It was developed in 2013, and it's a solution that any bakery can purchase for $200,000. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what the fuck exactly it does, but
it detects cancer apparently.
And it detects cancer. So somebody it does some sort of scan technology that can like go through each individual layer. It's crazy what they're talking about, but I thought that was weird too.
But it just happens to be able to detect like at that right density or frequency or whatever to be like, oh, so I can see that it's this thing. That's interesting.
Yeah, something that somebody made for scanning bread and shit like that is now going to be helping in the medical field. And the crazy thing is, it's been out for so long. It was 2013, but I mean, maybe it could have been out longer before they fucking found that out.
Bro, to be real though, sometimes the amazing idea or sometimes like the best idea in the room is like, it's like oddly a reimagining of a previous idea, right? Like being able to like actually repurpose or like be like, hold on. What if we applied it like this? You know what I mean? So that's interesting to me. Like you said, stumbled, but hey, You know?
Yeah, you can't really complain. If that's going to help people out, then hey, whatever.
Exactly.
Let's use it. All right, so enough with the weird, crazy news for today. But yeah, so back to music. First, projects and influences for you. So like, you already kind of discussed that you were into instruments and you were in the choir. I think you said during school. But did you like listen? What kind of genres did you listen to besides hip hop? It seems like you probably have a wide array, like we do, of genres that you listen to.
Like when I grew up,
Yeah,
in terms of genres, I honestly mostly listen to urban music, hip hop, R&B, but I would say like hip hop and rap, and then R&B, both old and new R&B, just from like
yeah,
being around like people in my family and just friends and stuff. So there's and then soul music
yep.
and gospel music as well. I had a lot of exposure to gospel music in
Mhm.
church, as well as just like my aunts and my mama and even
Yeah,
when I was little, my grandmama was listening to gospel music a lot. So
yeah,
you know what I mean? So like the whole kind of canon of like kind of urban or black music, you know what I'm saying? Also some classical music. I know like in choir in school we used to sing like pop songs, and then in high school we used to sing a lot of classical arrangements and
mhm.
like like do competitions and like with the whole choir and sing classical music, a couple of jazz influenced things. Um but that was more again singing as opposed to actually like performing. I never really played instruments in school, like in band. I always like I can't say I regretted it, but I was always like, man, that seems so cool. But I was just doing other stuff in creative competitions and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. At the same time, I do recall I had this one homeboy. I'm trying to think of his name right now. Because he was real cool. Like he was in the drum line like in the high school for football and for the sports and whatnot. My homegirl Crystal, a good friend of mine, Crystal was also like she played one of the bass drums, and I just think that was so dope. The cadences and stuff they used to play.
Yeah.
Obviously being like a hip hop or like a soul or black music lover, I was like, yeah, that shit's so fresh. But I remember when he had like they had like winter line. It was like after the season or whatever, they would get together and like basically like the seniors would stick around and play drums and do rhythms. And I guess like some of them would. And then some of the people who would obviously be coming back to the next year, they would just like practice stuff, learn some stuff, teach each other some stuff, whatever. It's kind of a vibe. I remember that year it didn't actually end up fully going on. But he had stepped in and be like, hey, I know you're a really musical person. You go to the studio and you inquire stuff.
Hmm.
You're pretty good with rhythm. I was like, yeah. So he was like, yo, come like practice with me. And like practice, maybe you could be part of this. And I was like, what? Like, I'm gonna be in part of the band, you know what I mean? Like I was hell excited. I probably went to like 5 or 6 of the things or whatever, and then they kind of disbanded it. You know what I mean? They just didn't end up doing it for the season. But that was my first time, honestly. Like this was like my senior year in high school. Like on the Remo pass, like paradiddles and shit, and like actually like trying stuff. Like I don't even remember a lot of the techniques, but like and then like kind of drumming with him and like him giving me a cadence and me trying to play it. And he was always like, "Damn, bro, you're really good at this." And I was like, "This is really fun. Like this is dope." And like I never did that before. You know what I mean? So. A lot of that for me, all those types of influences did culminate, I think, into a lot of the music, But I was just trying to think if there's any like a little bit of classic rock exposure, but I never really was a fan of rock music. I think maybe even later in life, I appreciate classic rock more than when I was young. I was just like, yo, that I just don't. I grew up not
Top out there in fucking Texas. The ZZ Top,
Yeah.
the fucking long beards. When I think classic rock, I think Texas. That's what I think of anyway. Because like, and it's like if you've never heard of them before, or ever listened to their shit, like it is a certain kind of rock music. You know what I mean?
yes.
It's driving. Like it feel like if you just pop some ZZ Top on, and like I did when I drove through Texas to get to Phoenix, I was listening to ZZ Top the whole way, just nah, 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 and just like on repeat.
Perfect.
You know?
Yeah.
It was
That's
like
it.
driving. It's like I feel like it's perfect driving type music, but I'm not really one to pick apart music too much. I like all kinds of music, just not country music, really.
See, I used to not like country, and then I came around. It's weird.
I don't know. I just can't. I just
Oh, I
can't.
understand. I understand.
I feel like it's too manufactured. Like you got your songwriters, you got your artists that sing, and you got your artists that play the music, and they all collaborate to do one song. There's no one person that does everything, or it's very rare. I'll say that.
It's the same with pop music and stuff like that too, which is like whatever. You know what you're getting with that shit, and there's a lot of rock music. Whether it's like I consider bluegrass and blues and shit, that's all rock music to me too. So I'm saying all that shit is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's the originator of it all, really. You know, when you
Yeah,
think about
but like to me, like I guess I would consider rock blues, but not per se blues rock, and I mean that in a gentle way. Like
yeah,
to me, the originator, it feels a little more like I'd listen to blues for like 2 hours, like just because I want to catch a vibe, way before I listen to rock for 2 hours,
right.
and I feel it in my soul more literally.
Oh yeah,
So
because the
to me,
people,
it's not the
that
same
took,
thing.
took the blues music and made it into rock didn't have as much soul. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, and
it
I said
turned
I
out
feel
different.
that, so I
Right.
it reflects that in terms of
Exactly.
my
No,
wanting
it
to
does.
fuck with it. This, you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah, but then
yeah,
once in a while you get, some that has a little bit of soul in it. Like, oh shit, okay, that's nice. But
and you can find it everywhere. You
for
can
the
find
most
it
part, though,
everywhere.
that rock music was it was like a incarnation of, like, it was white music really for a while. I feel like, anyway, and I feel like they kind of stole from what the culture was, what they took from, and they made it their own. But it's like you said, and like Justin was talking about, it's sort of manufactured in a way too, the same way that the country music is when you think about it. Um, who the drummer's writing songs, and fucking this guy's writing songs who doesn't even, he's the manager's brother, you know what I'm saying? He wrote a song. It was like that. And I feel like more originality came from the blues side of it, and how they
Oh,
weren't
interesting.
really scared to they were trying all kinds of shit in the early days of blues, early BB King and shit like that. They were just doing very crazy
Yeah,
new things that, like, other people picked up on, and like, oh, let's do that,
yeah, yeah. Hell yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah. I
yeah,
just feel like the originator, there's none better than the original. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but so first projects, since we're talking about like your early influence and stuff, what was your first project, and what kind of influenced you to get into making music on your own and be like, I want to do this now. I think I can do this or whatever.
Man, I mean, one of the first projects I did would honestly have to be like maybe a 4-song or maybe even a 3-song EP.
Mm-hmm.
When it was for independent study at Bowdoin College.
Okay.
Bowdoin is liberal arts, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
was an Africana studies major. I was an English minor, studied culture a lot, history, music of the Caribbean, a little bit of music theory, like, just a lot of cultural stuff. And part of what, so in one of my independent studies, I created this. It's like a short album. Wrote a whole lot of kind of academic stuff about the lyrics and stuff, but then also wrote lyrics and performed, like recorded myself, made beats, got my homegirl to come sing some backgrounds and really help me think that through and like try to like make something that was like, the point wasn't to make like an academic hip hop album. The point was to make something that was like flavor and like real fucking shit, and then talk about it academically and be like, this is what is happening academically. You know what I'm saying? And I think I did pretty good with that. Some of the homies at school really enjoyed it. It was a good learning process for me. Sometimes you throw yourself into something and it just teaches you so much just because you really, you know what I mean? Like you jumped into that container and just like went crazy. So for me, I can say I gained a lot from that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that wasn't absolutely a school project. I didn't ever release it or whatever. I didn't even, this was years ago. I didn't even know how to release stuff. I mean, I think for me, my first like Genius Black album was Pharaoh's Recipe.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which is very much a compilation of like of a lot of production I did. There's a George Foisey did. There's a couple tracks on there where he definitely did at least as much production as me. Like George is, I don't know if y'all know George. He's real dope as a producer.
Yeah,
But
I never,
like
but he's coming on the show in August or September. But yeah.
that, yeah, he's pretty nasty with fucking making beats. Ever since I've
Yeah.
known him, he's just like, I think he's a pretty good dude in general. But I would say, that album, there's a couple other producers that touched it, but I was like the kind of like DJ Khaled, like everybody says that these days, right? Like DJ Khaled. But like even though I'm an artist, I've never had the urge for like, and this is just me personally, because I know there's different styles, to like put out like, yo, I got a project. Everything you hear is my voice, my music, my raps, my lyrics, all me. Like that's super dope, and I know there's people who can do that, or at least do all the lyrics and vocals, and that's fine. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I love to collaborate. I draw a ton of energy from the act of collaborating and like creating the synergy between people, and like the fact that you come up with shit that neither person even could have by themselves. I value that very highly.
Got
So
it.
right? So like for me, Phil's Recipe was born of like collaboration energy. I want to show off the artists in Maine. They think my beats are dope. They think my ideas are dope. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? So got some. I thought some pretty good tracks on that one. You know what I mean? So I felt good about it, and I learned a lot about like releasing music. You know what I mean? It's one of those things when putting out music is one thing, like releasing it and like, hey, it's on Spotify. To start to understand marketing campaigns and really execution, you know what I'm saying? Like the things that you know what I'm saying, that your company does.
Yeah.
Artists have to understand, like, unless you can just hire somebody to do it all for you, which is, if you have the dough, do that, because that's why you do it, right? But but as you're coming up and cutting your teeth and learning it yourself, that's more than half of what you spend your time doing. And a lot of people don't understand that beforehand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a lot of promotion, a lot of fucking time spent with that. And a lot of it doesn't go your way. So that's another thing too they don't really say. You'd be like, yo, I got a fucking hit. I got a hit right here. And then like, you know, it'll get make its rounds and like you can't even get it on local radio. You know what I'm saying? You're just like, damn, okay. Guess it's back to the drawing board. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, that's how it goes for a lot of people. And yeah, you just got to push through it. It's more, for me anyway, it's more about the art, just kind of like creating and shit like that. If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, then whatever. And I never really dwell on shit for too long. Like, it's great to kind of celebrate a release and stuff like that and promote it for a little while. But after, you know, when it's run its course and shit like that, you can be like, okay, whatever. We're moving on. We're going to release another one or whatever it is. Keep it moving because, yeah, you just never know. These days, it's not like back in the day where you have to put out albums. You could blow up off just a single, you know what I mean? So depending on what you're trying to do or what your game plan is, like some people are adamant. They want to make projects. They want to put together little EPs and they have like a you know, a vision for how they want it to be. Other people are just single. Is it going to hit? Is it going to hit? You know, and hey, it's all for the, I say for the love of creativity or whatever, like create. I love it. So I'm always following all the local artists, you know what I'm saying? I'm listening to when shit comes out. When it comes out, I'm like, yes, this is great. I'm always in support of everything. I haven't really heard stuff that people in Maine are putting out, at least what I'm hearing. There's nothing out there I can really be like, I don't like. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that.
Amazing music coming out of Maine, bro. I vouch, bro.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, hey, everything that I hear, and even when I'm introduced to somebody new I haven't heard before, who has been around or hasn't, I'm like, hey, this is cool because a lot of people too, it's different because I'm a little older, you know what I mean? So like for me, I'm like partial a little bit to like the late 90s, early 2000s, you know, hip hop style or whatever. But some of these guys out here like Dre Armani and like Just Plain Jones is so fucking talented, man. Oh my god.
Bro. Yeah, it's inspiring, yeah.
It is. And I don't know if he's still here in Maine. Someone told me he had moved away or something, but I still he's highly regarded in my books. Is super talented, and just like you hear these things and it gives a whole new light to kind of like what you're used to. And I like to step out of my box sometimes and hear that. And if I was to compare like the stuff Dre Armani puts out, it's stuff you hear on the radio 100%. It's like I hear him, I'm like, damn, this motherfucker could be on the radio like right now. Like this could be, you know, I hear that. I hear like he's right with whatever, like, you know, what's trending. I don't want to say he's trendy or whatever, but it's exactly what people are listening to and what they want to hear.
Exactly.
Putting out. And I'm like with that with a lot of people too, who don't even feel that. Like a Lunar Landing's one of those guys. We had him on. Was it last week? Yeah, I think it was.
Last week, yeah.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys who, he might not have like the hugest following, but I feel like he could be one of those guys who could have a fucking song on the radio easily. He's super talented as an MC, but also what I didn't know is like he can sing a little bit too. And I was telling him like, yo, I love you sing, and like you could do more of that because it's cool like to have that. If you want to let, you know, rappers don't always want to sing. They feel like I'm a rapper, you know what I mean? But
yeah, you're right. Hey, I was gonna say I apologize. Can I just pause? I mean, not pause, but I need to leave for 1 second. I'll be right back. I promise.
Of course,
brothers. I apologize.
Of course, man. Of course. So yeah. Let's see. We're moving on to unexplained phenomenon right now, which is obviously easy topic to kind of talk about.
Right.
But yeah, we had mentioned last week, I think for the past fucking like 5 weeks, we've been mentioning about this Bigfoot interdimensional alien connection or some shit, right?
Yeah. We talked about how they just seem to pop in and pop out of this dimension at times. You can't really nail it down. You can't catch them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I got into the wormhole of kind of figuring out where this theory came. Who was the first person to think of this theory? Basically, what I was thinking of. So I came up with a paranormal researcher whose name was William Hall, and this is in 2015 ish. He kind of came up with it. He began as a paranormal researcher with UFOs and aliens, and he said that many of the classic signs from human encounters with aliens, like and ghosts, have similar signs as to ones that are when it happens with Bigfoot. Be they disappearing beings, fast-moving objects, strange orbs, lights, things like that. They kind of all hold true for all these different things. And so it used to be that UFO people didn't talk to the ghost people because they were a little weird, and nobody would want to talk to the Bigfoot people because they were crazy. So they kind of kept in their own little, their own little spots or whatever. So it's not really a new theory, they say. This guy had brought it back up to light, but I guess there were some sightings back in the late 1800s, and people first had thought that it was some paranormal stuff that was going on then. It was kind of like hushed around, and they noticed it was a hairy being, and they're thinking, well, it's probably like an ape or something. That's kind of like the big
gorilla.
Right. So it kind of started off as a weird theory, like this is weird. We don't have this on this earth. It's got to be from somewhere else. To could be here from here. Let's treat it as such. But really solidified back in 1973. For modern times, they grabbed hold. A lot of Bigfoot hunters were reporting run-ins with the orange orbs that they see a lot of times.
Okay.
And a renowned Bigfoot hunter, Bill Brock, he spoke at a conference, and he referenced a NASA announcement that magnetic portals could be possibly real. So he's saying, with these newfound information and everything else, really pulling together, like the mysterious orbs they're saying could be transporter beams for Sasquatch. That's how they get into it. Boom, they're there, and then they get out of the way. So just to kind of bring up on speed, if you haven't heard, we're talking about, because the past few weeks we've been talking about this theory that Bigfoot is an extraterrestrial visitor, as well as not just a Bigfoot. He's connected to interdimensional beings like ghosts and things like that. This theory that we're kind of gone down the fucking wormhole of to kind of figure out where it came from and all that stuff, because I'm kind of like obsessed with it now, because I'm trying to explain things, and I feel like if we're not talking physical being that's here, that we haven't really ever found any remains of any or caught any, right? So to me it's like, well, that's weird. So the only other way to explain it is interdimensional like travel. That's how they get in and out of here. We don't see them or whatever. We see them like a little bit here and there. But anyways, this weird ass theory that they're related, ghosts and Sasquatch and aliens are all kind of interdimensional travelers. Human beings and Neanderthals. I mean, it's known fact that they were battling pretty heavily 35,000 years ago, right? That was like the time where they split and and went off into the woods and whatever. Some went this way and some went that way, and it kind of broke off as whatever. But I mean, is this a really good theory, or is it some weird ass fucking theory? I mean, what do you think? Is first off, is Bigfoot something that's viable, something that we should continue to research, or is it just a crock of shit? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, if it's anything like the aliens, then maybe there's some truth to it that the government agency is not releasing, or maybe it is interdimensional that we can't prove yet with the technology that we have. Maybe we're in a simulation and it's a glitch in the matrix kind of thing. Like, it's hard to say. It is a theory, and until we have hard evidence to prove it or disprove it, then we can't discount it. Like, it's a theory,
Yeah. Simulation theory is a great theory too.
Yeah. So, I mean, we need more information is what we need.
Yeah, and we keep trying to get it. And for some reason, we can't really get the information we need. Right. We keep getting the same old information, footprints and fucking, broken trees or whatever. Like, I want to see more things.
Yeah, if it's a hoax, it's a fucking elaborate hoax that has gone on for decades. So how the fuck are they keeping that up, first of all?
People misidentifying things. They're like,
right.
bears or something, and it's not it's not Sasquatch, it's a fucking bear.
It seems like it would be a little bit different experience seeing a bear than a fucking Sasquatch, but you know.
People get freaked out, dude, and they're like, "Oh god, fucking Sasquatch! It's bad. It's just a bear standing up trying to get a fucking something off a tree or something." And like, oh, I'm just saying, I'm skeptical. I'm like 50-50. Skeptical, and I try to explain it in a regular way, and then I try to explain it in a way that could still kind of be scientific. The interdimensional thing, the multiple dimensions, that could be possible. We don't know yet, but it's more feasible than this creature that's elusive enough where we can't spend millions of dollars to find it.
Hold on. I mean,
Jump in,
think
genius.
about. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just saying. So the thing is, I think there's this assumption that science agrees that like multi-dimensionality doesn't exist, and I don't think that all scientists agree to that by any means. So for me, I mean, just to be honest, the thought of aliens, easy. Why do people think there's not aliens?
Yeah.
And if I was to tell someone so that's, to me, that's almost nothing. Like, sure, like, of course, like, I feel like I'm an alien. Anyway, beyond that, it's like, I guess for me, I don't have to be able to look up a scientific answer of something every time to feel comfortable with it. Because for me personally, I think that science is brilliant and I love science. But the very nature of science is to keep testing, pushing, and trying and going to figure out what we didn't know before. That inherently proves that you're going to encounter things that no matter how hard you explain, you can't. It's new. Right. Fact. That science is built on that. So for me, I'm like, yeah, maybe a Sasquatch is associated with ghosts. I don't know. Maybe a Sasquatch is just an interdimensional being and it comes through some proof of light, because that's how it shows up. But then maybe separately, ghosts also exist, and people have seen a similar proof of light, and they're associating them. No one can disprove any of that. So for me, the theory is one thing to talk about, but our reality, I think, is much more fluid than, like, the government keeps leaking out more and more, not leaking out, but like, oh, this is declassified, this is declassified. Have you ever asked yourself what's all declassified right now? Like that I mean, that's not declassified, excuse me, that's still classified. Like, I don't know. For me, the edges of my reality can't be defined by everything. I can just reach out and say, oh, fact. Although I love going out for facts. But like, it's designed for me to not be able to all reach at it purposefully, Yeah,
it's just like tonight's article that mentioned Grand Prairie after you had said Grand Prairie. Now, if we take and we try to scientifically analyze the mathematical probability that would happen tonight, it's probably like hitting the lotto, okay?
Right.
And this type of shit, at least to me, happens all the fucking time. I said the other day, matter of fact, we were walking through the fucking mall, and I said, I threw a fucking number out. This number came to me. How many steps we're gonna have when we get out of here? It was like 5,165. I told it, what's it say on your watch as we're walking out to the car? 5,161. And like we probably went over by a few steps by the time we got to the car, right? But I mean, to throw that number out when she was at like 3,800 or something, and I just like, we walked around the mall like twice already, and I fucking quick, like in my head, like, it's gonna be this many steps, and I just confidently threw it out. But for some reason, it was almost right on the fucking dot. And then that was fucking 2 days ago, and now today we think about this Grand Prairie thing. Now I'm feeling like I should play the fucking lotto. You know what I'm
saying? You should go for it.
Because shit like that just doesn't happen, mathematically speaking. If we're living in a completely random world, that shouldn't fucking happen like that. So yeah, I'm feeling lucky. I might go out and get a bunch of lotto tickets. But yeah, it's definitely strange. Definitely strange when you start thinking about simulated realities and our reality, like you're saying, being fluid. I totally agree. Things are strange, and there's definitely shit we don't know about, and we probably will never fucking know about. That's just kind of facts at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe our brain's just not capable of understanding.
Maybe we're not.
Like I recently I was watching something about Einstein recently, and it was they were equating some of the theories that he was coming up with at his time basically equating that to explaining physics to a dog. Like, no matter how much you explain physics, the dog is just not going to get it. They're not made to understand it. So maybe some of this shit is not made for human minds to understand. Right. And we're going to continue to try and grasp it and try to put it in its box and explain why it's like this and how it does this. And maybe we just can't ever, no matter how hard we try.
Unexplainable, like what happens when you go through a black hole. We don't know. We'll probably never know. We can only say we know this much up to this point, and that's it. It's
actually like that idea that, at least like this kind of iteration of my consciousness is like, there's just things that it's not ready to perceive of like the whole universal flow of things. I think that's kind of dope because like, we got to all keep growing. I believe you can grow spiritually, all that kind of stuff. To me, that stuff's not weird. So like, if I could just really reach out and figure it all right now, I don't know, man, it almost be like cheating. So, I mean, I feel like it's fair that there's things that you can't just, next time around or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of makes some sense to me, really.
Yeah. Next go around. Yeah. Shit. So, all right. Top 5, our favorite thing to do. So top 5, we'll just pick a random thing. This is like the hardest thing for people to do. So I like to say before, it's just top 5s change all the time. So you never know what it's going to be when you get asked, you know what I'm saying? So just like let it flow. Some people were like put on the spot. They're like, I don't know, but, let's just go with like, your top 5 artists. Now, artists can be anything. So I always say it's whatever you want. If the artist is fucking Picasso, then he's an artist, you know what I'm saying? Or if it's a hip hop artist or any kind of musical artist, it's any kind of artist, and just a top 5 of like your most influential artists right now.
Right now, wow. That's an interesting question because I haven't been listening to much music and my brain goes there first. But then I'm like, honestly, I'd have to say one of my biggest influences currently right now as an artist, because I've been like digging into his work and I'm participating in some projects, is TT DeBaccarat. He's an artist here in Maine and in the greater Portland area. He's from Africa, but, he's the homie and he's an amazing artist. A visual artist, I've seen some sculpture stuff, photography stuff. So yeah, he's been influencing me a lot. Just been seeing what he's doing. Man, just trying to think. I've been focused on my own music lately. Me, Genius Black. I'm number 2.
Yes.
At least I went with the external artist first, and then I went to myself for number 2. No, because I feel like I've been studying my style and trying to get better at executing it. So I think that's fair to say I'm influencing myself, quite honestly, on purpose. I also really like, I'm really influenced by the greater Portland area. I believe the Gem City, Portland is just dense with good artists. So I got to shout out Angelica Foray. I think she's like just one of the most like promising and just like shining star artists that I've seen in like years. Years.
She can definitely sing for sure.
Yeah. You're like, it's like it's a whole thing of in and of itself, So yeah, so I would say that's number 3. I mean, I have to say Kanye West. I know that people have all types of feelings about Kanye West, and I probably agree with at least half of them, whatever they may be. You know what I mean? But in terms of body of work, level of artistry, level of self-trust, and I'm real big on like self-trust, especially if you're an artist or creator. Like that's the sharp edge of your knife. And he's like disgustingly self-trusting. I'm just saying, Yep. That leaves one. Who would I say? Quincy Jones. Because like growing up listening to things, legendary, growing up, been exposed to different things over time, different albums, movie, school, different stuff. But then also recently, I went back and listened to the song Septembro that he had created and composed. And then someone was talking and they were like, oh yeah, didn't people like Quincy Jones just come in and have like musicians they would kind of orchestrate? Because there's this project I'm working on and I was kind of working on something similar. Yeah. And I was like, actually, I was like, man, I've always looked up to that. Like, wow, that's dope for me. That represents growth, you know. So yeah, I would say that's like a long-winded influence on me. Quincy Jones, definitely the legend.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely had his hands in a lot of shit, and a lot of shit too that you don't even know about too. If you
Right.
go back and look at his credits, you'd be like, "Damn, Quincy Jones was fucking produced that shit or helped produce that, whatever."
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to him, man, because yeah, nobody's brought him up on the show before, which is crazy because he definitely yeah, he was on that a couple Michael Jackson albums, I'm pretty sure, and like those was like
Yeah, the
pinnacle,
biggest,
yeah,
the
biggest
biggest,
album
yeah.
all time, and he definitely should be mentioned. And I'm glad that you did because now I'm going to be on a Quincy Jones kick. I'm going to check out some shit that I can sample from, see what we got going on. All right, so how about favorite non-musical hobbies? Like besides music, what are some things that you like to do, kind of to reset, or just anything that you like to do besides music?
Um, I am not like a gym addict or anything, but I like to lift weights. I have since I was young. Like yes, it's like how in my family and like my kids will like lift weights. I have children there. One is 17 and others 14, and like
Mhm.
they both like will like lift weights. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's just how we are. So that for me has always been kind of a thing. And then I like to draw. You know,
yeah,
I'm not saying it's like a all the time thing. Like you know, but like for me, I really enjoy it. I have some skill at it, but like it's just always been a kind of thing where it just kind of feels good to do it. You know, I think adjacent to that is painting. I have like a couple friends, you know, that are creators, and like you can go to their crib, and like they'll have like paints and like actually be like down to be like, do you want to paint? I'll be like, actually yes. Okay, let's just paint like while we watch TV or turn off TV and let's just paint. We can talk
yeah,
to each other or not. Let's just paint, you know, like I love shout out to people in your life who allow you to do things like that, you know,
Right.
great,
and
yeah,
just catch a vibe. So that's number three would be painting. Um, and you know, I'm not making excuses, but I just, you know, just because I'm doing a top five, I don't want to sound like I'm amazing at all these things, you know. So, but number four, I would say would have to be cooking. I definitely enjoy cooking, you
yeah,
know. Recently, I've been proud to see my son step more into cooking and like make some cool meals that I never even made before. I'm like, wow, shout out, you know. He's 17, you know, he's figuring stuff out and something he likes. So I was like, man, and
yeah,
it's treat yourself like a king. Be that king, you know what I mean?
right,
That vibe as well. But
yeah,
I personally like I like to cook Indian food and stuff with curry and stuff, and I like a lot of garlic and you know all that, and you know little salmon and stuff. But I mean, I enjoy cooking some of those dishes. And I would say
yeah.
number five, crystals. I'm definitely the person who has like mad crystals all over the place.
Crystal,
Yeah, I was gonna say for whatever you think about that, you know what I'm saying? I'm definitely that
yeah,
person.
crystals are
Yeah.
cool. You know, I don't know if I'm totally obsessed with them, but I think they're pretty cool, man. Um, ever since I was young, I was always like into crystals. I've been fucking try to find any kind of quartz crystal I could find on the ground or beach or whatever.
Yeah.
Think it was valuable, take it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
hell yeah. So it's just about 9. It's just about 9 o'clock right now. So
Okay.
normally this is when we usually do the smoke break at this time. I actually got my pen today, so normally we would take some questions if there was any questions. I noticed that Lucifer
Yeah.
is,
Shout out to Lucifer.
is in here.
Shout out.
Lucifer always shows up. He says, "How y'all doing? We're doing good." Lucifer always shows up right about before time for smoke break.
Yeah, there he is.
He's ready for smoke break. So I got my trusty live resin pen right here, and I'm going to get into it. But yeah, if you want, we can play one of your songs or something while we do this little smoke break, and that way
Oh,
people
word.
can hear something. So if you have something that off your maybe Spotify or I don't know your Bandcamp or something that we could just play that you want me to play, I'll play it right now.
You know, I will say because it's just like it's just a record of mine that we put out and I just like it. I think it's a banger. I think we did like a bang up job with the visual campaign because you know what I'm saying, how that goes with the music. So yeah, if we could listen to the song
Okay.
Utensils, which is by Genius Black featuring KF Coast.
Yeah, let me share the screen here real quick, and I'll bring it up. I already have the thing up over here. Bring it on screen. There we go. Get rid of Lucifer's comment here. And look at hi Justin.
Hey, Auntie.
Hey.
Hey, my mother's in the street, y'all. Watch out. All right, so we got Genius Black's Spotify pulled up here, and we're gonna listen to this song Utensils right now. We take a couple rips off this pen. So yeah, let us know what you think in the comments or whatever, and just vibe out.
Bro, every time she come over here, seem like y'all disappear. Looking ass.
Faded, low light looks on so I don't get jaded. Playing in my ear, but I ain't nothing you can play with. You want me to say it, you want me to face it. Between your thighs, look me in my eyes as you take it. We ain't supposed to be, we both soaked and I got you choked all over me. We can go slow, can't go jumping, yo. Swimming toe, climax, scratch on my back, yes. Take my time and I make you come to base. Straight to race, when you wake it's a double take. No tray for this breakfast in bed. My hands, my lips, my tongue, my dick, utensils instead. No point in getting clean, cause we gon' be dirty again. Ooh, baby, just let me in. Faded, low light looks on so I don't get jaded. Playing in my ear, but I ain't nothing you can play with. You want me to say it, you want me to face it. Between your thighs, look me in my eyes as you take it. Faded, low light looks on so I don't get jaded. Playing in my ear, but I ain't nothing you can play with. You want me to say it, you want me to face it. Between your thighs, look me in my eyes as you take it.
Faded, low light looks on so I don't get jaded. Playing in my ear, but I ain't you can play with it. You want me to say it, you want me to face it. Between your look me in my eyes as you take it.
Yeah. So I mean, I already heard that song a bunch of times.
Hey.
Yeah, because I think all your songs are saved or yeah, put on the like list or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that was one of the ones that I was saying. I mean, sounds like some Timbo shit, right? Like the vibe of it is just like when it first started and everything. I'm like waiting for Genuine to come on. It's like,
Right.
and then that guy came on. Who's that guy, by the way? Is that you?
Not so the main artist whose voice you hear on the primary performer is KF Coast.
Okay.
That's the featuring artist.
Yeah.
And he wrote all his lyrics and like he jumps on top of my beats and like sometimes I put my voice in like layer ourselves. Sometimes I have rap verses on songs with him, but this one Utensils happened to be I made the beat and then Kev Coast wrote his lyrics, you know, I think he recorded himself on that one. Like I sent him the beat, he recorded himself, sent it to me. Yeah, Utensils. And I was like, ooh, what a vibe. Like, that's what you heard on the beat? Yes, right. My guy. Like, you get the, you know what I mean? Like, you're the one. I was like, all right. And then, you know, I added layers of my voice and pitch shifted. And, you know, we wanted to go with the kind of touch it with the chop the screw sound, you know what I'm saying? And then did the mixing and mastering, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, again, it's kind of like curating it. And then he's the artist that's featuring on the track that I, you know, put it out and then promoted and everything, you know? And, yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's got a vibe.
Yeah, it does.
Got a vibe. Yeah, so let's see. New rap versus old rap discussion. That's usually what we bring up right about now. So the main thing about that, before we get started with that, is when performing live, should an artist rap over their song? Yes or no?
Oh, like the full song?
Yeah, if they got their backing vocals in there, or they got their vocals in there, even if they're turned down, should they be doing that or no? This day and age.
I think if you perform, well, I personally am just like getting back into performing, so I'm, trying to retool myself into the craft. But like for me, I think that the primary thing you should be hearing is an artist like right now in the moment voice. But I personally think, because I'm a music producer, right? Like I believe in production. I think that to put on a good show, like an ad lib track or an ad lib, and not, I mean, I guess I can understand maybe a full backing track turned down, but I'm thinking like maybe highlights or like certain keywords or phrases, so that there's a natural showmanship in the air that's happening. But for me, like kind of just like playing a song and rapping over it, to me, that feels crazy. Like literally, like I don't know why someone would do that, in my opinion. So yeah. Anyway, that's where I stand.
So yeah, I mean, basically, it's the same thing. I mean, I feel the same way. When you have certain parts of like your verse that have like a effect on it or something for the ad libs or whatever, the overdubs, right? Or the hook part has something that's being sang, or just something in the hook that you want to kind of stand out with. Sure, I say whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I'm on the page where your verse parts anyway should be pretty like original every time. I know it's the same song, you know what I'm saying? But if I'm performing on a Friday night and I go and I do the song, and then on Sunday night I go do the song again, and a few of the same people show up, it should be not exactly the same, you know what I'm saying? So like I feel like each kind of show is unique in that way, where like you're not going to hit at the same time every time you do it, right? And then you're going to have people who, since especially in small venues and whatever else, you're going to have people that come out to your shows. If it's weekly or whatever it is, you show up, they're going to know your fucking songs, and they they hear it on Spotify already and shit like that. So I feel like they should get something unique every time. So that's what I like to see when I go out and watch shows too, personally.
Yeah, I mean, Genius said it, and I'm not an artist or anything, but as a fan, if I'm going out to a show, I want to see somebody perform. I don't want to go and listen to their song and then see them mouth some words or say a couple ad libs while the song's playing. I want to see them actually perform it.
Yeah.
So
not be out of breath and having the backing tracks take over when they hit it. Now on the other spectrum of that, I'm really for like hype men or someone up on stage with you to kind of back you up and shit like that. I love that. That aspect of it is like something I think that is. I know some artists do still do that and everything, but for the most part, you see a lot of people up there they're just solo, and I mean that's cool and everything, but I just feel like you give such a better performance when you got someone who's up there to kind of not fill in
play off of,
get you to play off of, and to play all side the crowd, so you're not missing anybody, and maybe throw merch into the crowd, whatever it might be, stickers, whatever. Keep them engaged while you got the show going on. I feel like you said, performing is it is what it is. It's some people got it, some people just don't. But I feel like it should be a unique thing when people are going out, especially if you're doing the same songs. Now, people move on from the same songs, and then it's the whole cycle all over again. But I feel like a show is a show, and if they're paying, I mean, even if they're not paying, but just especially if they're paying, they need to get something completely unique. They don't want to hear you rapping over your Spotify song with your fucking vocals on it. Just don't.
I like it. You're inspiring me to work hard on my showmanship. Like I said, when I was younger, in choir and stuff at school, and have done some things and been on some stages and done public speaking. But realistically, for me, I'm jumping back into getting on the stage and but I expect to have fun at it, but I also want to be good at it. You know what I mean? Like think about the craft of it, So
yeah, and it takes a lot to remember fucking lyrics, and especially if you're playing instruments too, it's a lot, and it's easy to get up on a thing. I mean, well, it's for some people it's not, but it's easier to just get up and say something in front of somebody rather than having to all this fucking shit you got to be playing and singing and making sure that you're getting it all right. That's just like, it takes practice. You can't just jump out there and just be like, yeah, I'm going to kill it. You got to like go to a practice space. You got to practice in your room. You have to know your lyrics. You have to know the keys. You have to know whatever. It does work, and there's a lot of work that goes into it before you even hit the stage. A lot of people don't think of. They just think you just hit the studio and you just rolled over to the show and now you're about to perform the song you just wrote. It just doesn't work like that. You know, you've practiced that shit for you know, a couple months usually. I see people like before they're ready to perform shit.
Yeah, get it right. Get it right.
Yep. But yeah, so I'm trying to think here. So we talked about new rap versus old rap. Oh yeah, let's talk about new rap versus old rap a little bit. So I already kind of mentioned that I'm kind of impartial to that late 90s or even mid 90s, early 90s to early 2000 music. However, there are new artists obviously that I like. That we're talking mainstream artists now, of course.
Okay.
Like J. Cole and like you know, Kendrick, who hasn't really put anything out for too long. He did a feature not too long ago, but then I'm waiting for new stuff, and I'm feeling it's going to be pretty decent. But you got Kendrick and you got J. Cole and you got Logic. I like a little bit, and you know, you have artists that are out there doing good things, but you have a lot of filler artists and like other artists that are out there that I'm just like, what is going on as far as what kind of you know, image they're trying to portray and everything like that. But being that we started this, I feel like I started this like 18 episodes ago, way more biased than I am now, hearing other people's opinions on things. At first I'm like, you know, why are they fucking always constantly rapping about and glorifying drug use in ways that I wasn't used to, being that I grew up on a different kind of, you know, time frame for the music where they glorified drug dealing versus doing drugs, and now they do glorify the doing of drug. And to me, it's like, at first I'm like, you know, they shouldn't be doing that. What the fuck, you know what I'm saying? That's pretty much how I was thinking of it. But now it's like I realize it's kind of like the same thing as the dealing of the drugs, this product of your environment, and so they're rapping about what they are seeing nowadays, which is, you know, drug addiction and shit like that. It's a huge problem, and we see that. I know I see that all the time out here. So it's obviously a problem that's and their way of kind of talking about it is putting it out like that. But that being said, I feel like there's a time and a place for everything, and I feel like that kind of glorification of that kind of music is run its course. And I think that the music, if they would be, you know, helpful, that they should start talking about it in a different way, you know, glorifying, you know, getting right, glorifying, you know, mental health being something that people should take care of, glorifying being clean and sober and enjoying life that way. And I think that, you know, boomerang effect, and a lot of new artists are coming out and they're hitting it right. And there's a lot of good new ones we've mentioned on the show a few times, but like, you know, who bring about the light in a positive way. And yeah, I can stand behind that. But like Little Pump or like shit like that, I don't vibe with that. You know what I mean? So like, what's your thoughts? Are you listening to some of the newer artists that are out here? Do you have any preferences on that? What do you think of J. Cole's new album? Did you listen to that at all?
I listened to a couple joints off of J. Cole's album. I didn't return to him that many times because I like a theme in my life is just like the businesses we have take a lot of my time. I'm still a functioning and working artist for sure, but like, you know what I mean? That's just real. But like I did listen to a couple, maybe like 3 or 4. Liked them all, loved a couple. I just think he's skillful. I mean, I like the execution. I like the hip hop. I like the lyrics. You know, I like For me, like I can appreciate, and I would say I prefer intelligent, thoughtful, insightful music. As someone who understands hip hop culture as a culture that comes of reflecting back certain lifestyles and certain life realities and circumstances, I guess I have an appreciation for even like literally ignorant shit, like something that's just like, wow, that's definitely saying nothing. You know what? I still like it. Like, actually, I like it. I understand being sometimes just being like, fuck it, like just the flow feels good, sounds good, whatever. So that's just me. I have that in my purview, my understanding of what I can appreciate. But yeah, I think generally speaking, because music gets, because of repetition, because of the nature of repetition in real life, right? And how powerful vibrations are. When you are listening to something over and over, realistically, it definitely affects you. So again, I mean, just how like somebody might take a shot of alcohol, someone might like I don't know, go like do something that they know they weren't supposed to and still have fun doing it. Yeah, like you want to think about what you let vibrating to yourself over and over and over. So I mean, definitely at a basic level, I know what you're saying and I even agree. But for me, I don't know. Like it's funny, my children and certain people in my life like end up like introducing me to music sometimes.
Yeah.
And a lot of what they listen to is not what I would naturally just gravitate towards. But then I'm like, okay, hold on, play that for me. Oh, that's just kind of hard. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is talking about some ignorant. But I'm like, all right, people making music like this. Oh, they sampling this. Oh, whatever. Because that's another thing that the younger generations are doing. They're sampling like a lot of the music that we love. And even if they don't know about it, I'm like, oh, this is still a jam. And it's just if they do it well, I'm like, okay, props to you. I wonder who your camp is. So I guess I'm trying to like develop these ways to keep an eye on a situation that's like musical relevance shifts over time, but people are going to always make ignorant, especially hip hop. At the same time, I think that it makes sense to like push the light. You know what I mean? Like that's just real. So
yeah, for sure. So there's always like Jay-Z was like one of my favorites growing up, because he could like he made it seem effortless when it'd be like he was talking to you, you know what I'm saying, when he was talking. And you paint a picture pretty easily and you can kind of transport yourself and kind of envision like that song. What's that song where he's talking about you coming like with your boys coming at like some cowboys coming to get me at high noon, lined up in adjoining rooms. Like you can paint a picture like in a 2-hotel town. Come on now. He's like pretty much explaining the whole situation. It went down. They took his rims. They bought keys with his rims. They felt sorry. And he's like, nah, like he's kind of just talking. And for me, like that was like the hugest thing. And nowadays you don't really see that with too many artists or whatever. So like, I guess I'm looking for that a lot of times when I hear an artist. I'm looking for that ability to kind of pull me in and be like whatever. But then there are plenty of fucking songs that I like to listen to that are just really there's no real content there. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, I try, like you said, to kind of stay on that.
Special guest.
What's up with this guy? Yeah, we got animals up in here all over the place. But
hey, when you're outside, you never know.
If I can, I try to stick with that positivity if I can. But there are times when you listen to shit like Future and everybody else, like that's gonna have some. You just want to vibe to, and you're not really paying attention to the words so much as you're just vibing with the whole thing, And I get that. And at the beginning of doing this, I was really kind of like I said, leaning towards the side of I don't really care what opinions were, but no, I've taken in the opinions and I totally understand. Because like I do it myself, and to sit here and say I'm not with it when I'm sitting here once in a while and I'm listening to Future, you know what I'm saying, while I'm cruising down the street, it's like I can't do that. So yeah, we all do it, but I do lean towards that positive type shit, the uplifting music more than anything else, for sure. But yeah, so new rap versus old rap, we've gone over that, so now we can move on. So what if someone was like, give me some music that you've made, or give me a song or a project or whatever that could kind of sum up what, if they're like, let me hear his music in a nutshell, whatever, like what is that project or song or whatever for you? What would you give them?
Wow. I mean,
if they're like, I got 5 minutes, let me hear whatever that's going to get you like, the $1 billion deal or whatever.
Like of music that's released?
Yeah. Or yeah. Okay. Yeah, music that you put out so far.
Then I would say, hold on, let me look at the track list real quick for Pharaoh's Recipe, because I think that hold on, I just feel like that's a good I mean, I would definitely say listen to the song that I just released. It's Genius Black. It's actually featuring a couple different artists: Tiny Foot, Drill, Shamik, and Shane Rise. And like that one's, I think, not only a fire song, it's a fire kind of thoughtful message of a song in a sense. Yeah. And I think it's powerful. It's like I think that shows some of my ability to curate and to to deliver a final product that sounds good, you know? So like that would have to be one if you only had like 5 minutes. And then I would say, honestly, I really like how me and DJ Matt Perry were able to work production-wise together. And a couple people actually, Jesse Feinberg, and of course, Angelica Foray on Best of Me. I would say, yeah, if you had a couple minutes and you wanted to hear like some dope shit that was produced by Genius Black, listen to Head Down and listen to Best of Me featuring Angelica Foray.
Okay, so that's great, and I'm gonna say head down. Did we play that last week on the show? I think we did, right?
Yeah, we might have.
Yeah, I played Head Down last week on this show, and I think
Shout
they
out.
played it on one of the shows earlier last week too, like a Wednesday or Tuesday show on Bars Over Bars here too, and to good review. So I love that song, and I played it when Shamik was on too, so on his episode as well. So
Word.
yeah, we might have even we talked about it at minimum. We talked about it when Shane was on the show too. If we didn't play it.
Oh man, I gotta get some clips from y'all, you know. Side talk. I'm just saying y'all know content, you know what I'm saying? But I'm out here. I love that, man. I appreciate that. And thank y'all for sharing it, bro. Thank y'all for
I love
it,
the whole vibe. Like it's definitely got a whole vibe, and everybody who was on it did their thing. I love how Tinyfoot, who kind of like, if you think about the whole thing, it does really show how you can curate and kind of bring things together. And that's one of the things that I like about everything that you put out. It's always like got this person or this person on it, and you wouldn't think that sometimes that they would have worked together, you know what I'm saying? So it's good to see that Tinyfoot came in, because he came out of left field and just murdered the whole vibe, you know what I'm saying? He did what it was, and like you wouldn't think if you just looked at him, you just took, you know, and you're like, you wouldn't think that was him, that would have come out of him. And it's like he's a super talented guy. So like to bring it
guy's very talented,
yeah, super talented, and for you to bring it all together, I love that. That's something that I like to do too. You know, if you saw the projects that I did the Tri-Town Legacy project. That was a bunch of different guys, had to coordinate that over like a 5-year period. It was a crazy time, you know, to put that together. And then I did the Shamik album, and I've got the Coop albums that haven't come out yet. It's all the same. We reach out to people and be like, can you feature on this? And I hear a song or something, and I might be like, I really think this person will be good on that. And I'm going to be doing that more, you know, as we get into things here. And like I said before, we'll be reaching out to you to kind of try to work with you on a couple of things for one of Coop's projects. So that'll be dope. I like that whole idea. And hopefully you can bring people in to you know, fuck with what we're working with too, trying to curate some of that shit and bring people like you do. You network with people and everything and bring them together. And I think that'd be great for this newer project that we're doing with Coop to get some people in there that we wouldn't normally think of. That would be great,
bro. Yeah, send me some tracks, man. You know, I'm liking the vibes of what you're talking about.
Yeah, of course. Networking and getting people on things that normally wouldn't be there is always good. And having different perspectives and different sounds, different tones and stuff on music can break it up, you know, nice. You know, because you got all kinds of different people on the music that you got. So,
yo, can I put y'all onto one secret sauce track that you can find it on Spotify? It's something that I created. Well, it's produced by Genius Black and by and speaking of someone who's not always in the hip hop scene, Ben Noyes. And so the track though is by I don't know if y'all know this artist. His name is Sig. So the song is called Smoky Coffee. It's by Sig, Smokey, and then the word coffee. This is one of my like a little bit earlier releases, but I would say maybe you could even like play 30 seconds of that.
Is it Sig Shalom?
Yeah.
I can play it. Yeah, I think this is it right here.
Yeah, me and Ben made that beat.
Oh no, I'm losing it now. What's up? Yeah, she calming me down. That's gonna be gone. Have a whole lot of cash. We gon' be on and like Poops give it town. They thought they stun riding whips around town. That's what you get for being way too loud. That's when we come in and calm shit down. And that's why they'll never take us down.
Yeah. Fuck riding in the Civic. Get from A to B, but I'm just trying to go to see shit.
Always on some J shit. You say that you about it, I'm like, bitch, I never seen it. Nah, I don't believe it.
Fuck riding in the Civic. Get from A to B, but I'm just trying to go to see shit.
Always on some J shit. You say that you about it, I'm like, bitch, I never seen it.
Nah, I don't believe it.
Back to the crib, we won, yeah, we on. Couple double backs and we on the run.
Yo, the guy sound like reminds me of D'Angelo, dude. You know, the whole vibe too is like a new age kind of D'Angelo vibe. But yeah, when did that come out? Oh, we lost you. We lost you. We lost your mic real quick. I don't know what happened.
My bad. I was just trying to make sure there was no extra noise. I was saying, bro, I don't even know, like, maybe like 5 years ago. I'll have to look it up. It might be on the file if you on Spotify.
Yeah,
I might say the release date. I really don't recall.
Let me see.
I remember making it though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it says he put it out in 2018.
Really? I feel like
That's
it's a little
what
older than that, but well, no, about 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm digging that whole vibe, and yeah, it's like I said, it's like a new age like D'Angelo vibe, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do we got? So you got some new in the works or upcoming projects that you haven't put out yet, coming out soon that you kind of want to talk about?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's dope. That's dope to kind of, because I'm kind of excited about a couple of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we've been like trying to build up to some stuff. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I would say one thing that I have coming out is a song that is Genius Black featuring KF Coast, and it's called Lonely Stony.
Mm-hmm.
Lonely Stony is a pretty dope song that we made, and I think it's gonna be like a favorite of shout out DJ Musanda. I seen his little fire signs. That's the homie. Yeah, I seen him today. I was like, yo, what up? You know? So Lonely Stony, bro, I think it's gonna be a favorite of people who like people who've been dealing with Corona, COVID, just been thinking about that. People who like have found themselves maybe like more isolated than before, but then also just people who like hip hop and like vibey ass music, you know. So that one's gonna drop. I think kind of excited about the campaign we're coming up with visually. Still working on some stuff, but you know, I'm feeling Lonely Stony.
Yeah.
The other thing that I can tell y'all that I'm working on that I think is exciting, it's actually like, let's just say it's like slightly different from like a song or like the average release that I've been working on, because I actually like worked through a grant that I you know competed for and won, and hired a team of people, local musicians, composers that I know, marketer, engineer, you know what I mean, and am commissioning the creation of a musical piece. But the musical piece is derivative, or at least, you know, somewhat in the vein or feeling of Head Down, that song I made, just like the actual musical part of it. Like, it's like that type of a vibe a bit, stretched out over time a bit, so that it's a longer musical experience. The reason being that longer musical experience will become the background of a photographic exhibition. There's a brother named T.T. DeBaccarat I was telling you that I've been very inspired by. And when I was considering possible ways that I could contribute to his project and to our creative community out here, I realized that through that grant, I would be able to kind of do some what I believe is regenerative economics, like putting money right into my community and right into the people next to me. I'm commissioning the creation of this musical piece, and then we'll give it to his project, which is called the Kneeling Art Photography Project. If you haven't seen it, look it up and check me out. The kneeling like on your knee, you know, the Kneeling Art Photography Project. That's an exhibit. I've seen it, you know, at a certain place in Portland. It's going to be moving all around. It's going to be in northern Maine. It's going to be like the music that plays in the background, like as you peruse and as you take in these experiences, these photographs of people who are kneeling and people who are writing about what kneeling means to them and what protest means to them and things like that. It's a pretty powerful project. He's a very passionate artist and he's a creative guy and he's like executing in a very cool way. And so I'm glad to be able to like bring people in the community together. You know, Space Gallery, the Sonic Visions the Sonic Visions grant, and you know me, Genius Black, as well as all the artists that I'm bringing in. You know, Kafari and Ben Noyes and I mean I guess we might put, I don't know if you guys do notes. You know, I don't know if I have to rattle off everybody, but like I'm just saying, we're gonna make a thing that becomes part of this piece of art. And I don't know, for me, I think it was a rare opportunity. And now that I'm executing on it, I feel great. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're gonna also take like a version of it and put it out on Spotify so that like there's a piece of art that can be referenced and listened to there. Like, you know, just the thing that we compose. But I definitely feel proud that like if you're in a museum and you're really thinking about something thoughtful, you're taking in some art or whatever, you're having some wine and you're chilling with your date for the evening, but you're like checking this out and you're really like having a vibe, that part of that vibe will be, again, remember I was talking about those vibrations, like it's the music that we crafted. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that one as well.
Yeah, it's pretty dope, man.
Yeah, that's definitely dope. And yeah, I mean, speaking of causes, you're involved with a lot of causes, right? You want to talk about some other causes that you're involved with? You want to plug them a little bit?
Yeah, for sure, bro. For sure, bro. I would say one of the primary focuses of my day-to-day and kind of week to week is that I put in time and energy working for Black-owned Maine. And Black-owned Maine, so like BOM, we call it BOM. Black-owned Maine is a company that was formed in the summer of 2020 by Rose Barboza. And then she brought me right on, and we're now co-directors of Black-owned Maine. And we started in the summer of 2020 as a directory, an online directory of all of the Black-owned businesses inside the state of Maine.
Yeah.
You know, we launched with like 65 businesses or so. And because of the timing of things and because of the awakening and because of the energy kind of tipping that we were all in the middle of.
Yeah.
In that summer, and like inside the kind of barrel of COVID-19 that we were also in, people were looking for tangible ways to support people who they felt like hadn't been supported enough before. And so we had this idea, Rose had this idea to make this directory. And then I kind of brought in some ideas about other things we could focus on. And we started to shape it up and organize and made a podcast and started to market. And I'm telling you, it almost instantly went viral.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Within days. You know, one of the things that we often quote just for context is within roughly the first 30 days, we had 10,000 followers on our Instagram account and had grown substantially in how many Black businesses were, in fact, you know, actually physically they're on the directory.
Right.
You know, nowadays we're at like 265, 275, or I mean, you know, I haven't exactly counted recently, but I think about 270 businesses spread all over in Maine. Obviously, mostly in Portland, greater Portland area, but spread all over.
Yep.
And we have, you know, like 16.3 thousand followers on Instagram, and for whatever that metric is worth. But what we have is an engaged community and on social media. That feels dope, and we're active, they're active, and we have done a lot of creative collaborations. I'm very proud of those because I'm a creator, right? Like I draw energy from that, going all the way back to like school, like I was telling y'all. You know what I mean? So for me to be able to, you know, make albums with people like and like feature and work with and just be blessed by people like Angelica Foray and DJ Matt Perry and people that I've worked with, and you know, Dre Armani kind of went off on my album, you know what I'm saying? But then also wow, I'm feeling blessed right now. And then there's like the musical derivative piece, right? The thing, right? And then there's this other thing I was talking about, but like, yeah, man, like having all that pop off, like having Black-owned, because you know what it is, because in all those facets, as well as within the Black-owned Maine, I'm seeing, I am seeing Black people kind of activated and motivated, and people of color that are doing their thing, which is important to me, because I want people in the state of Maine that are Black and brown to feel comfortable and free and safe enough to be able to be vibrant, right? Like that's beautiful, purposefully, right? Yeah. So as I see that, but then I see outside of those people, I see all type of people around me of all different races and things and ages and everything, and like what we're doing and like the way it sounds, like the way it's like I don't know, like the reason I make music is partially the same reason that I work so hard at Black Owned Maine. Like definitely it's partially the exact same reason, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So Black Owned Maine, check them out, right? blackownedmaine.com. When's you're still doing that podcast, right? When's
Yes, yeah.
What days does that show up, or where can they find that at?
You want to check out first of all, if you go to blackownedmaine.com, I really recommend that you look around because there's a couple things there. Maybe and honestly, look at the list of businesses. There's probably more than you think. But you can also find episodes of the podcast there. And you can find our podcast on all major platforms, pretty much anywhere you find podcasts. But the other thing is we got a couple episodes coming out. We're featuring I guess I could say it. We got the Black Student Union from South Portland, and then we also gonna have the homie Cole Fair, who is a friend of ours. So, we got a couple episodes that are already coming out. I have a bunch in the bag that just need to be edited. You know what I'm saying? How we was talking about that there's always work to be done. Yeah. So we have episodes coming out. So just keep an eye out. Check our website, and then also you can, if you just keep an eye on us on Instagram. We definitely, I think, do a pretty decent job of like putting out like, hey, we got stuff coming out. You know what I mean? But
yeah. So definitely go there, check it out. You can follow their podcast. Their podcast is great. And of course, just having this listing here helps so many people out. When people are specifically, I mean, not even just that, but when people are intentionally searching out Black-owned businesses to spend money, and there was no way to really find out before, now they can, and it makes it easy when you want to go and put that extra money into the Black community. It's easy to go do it. Just go to Black Owned Maine, and they have, like you said, 270 businesses on there. You'll probably be able to find what you're looking for if you just head over there. So yeah, shout out for that. I know that I Regret Nothing Apparel is on there, and they're one of our sponsors. So they given us some hats and shirts and everything else. So we're forever grateful for them for doing that. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we always shout them out, and I'm waiting on those new designs. They were mentioning that they had a bunch of new designs that are going to be coming out. So I'm just like anxiously waiting to see what those are going to be like, because I'm definitely going to have to get something. So shout out to them as well.
Hey, yeah. I was going to add real quick, just because you were talking about in terms of like things that I got coming up real quick.
Yes.
I might as well go ahead and plug, because Juneteenth is coming up. I don't know how much different people have different plans, but I can tell you that on Thursday, the 17th, so a couple days before Juneteenth, I am going to be involved. Genius Black is going to be performing with Maine Inside Out. I'm going to be, I'll say a performance, but I'm going to be kind of speaking and presenting. I'm going to play Head Down. I know some of you people might have heard it already, which I really appreciate. Let's vibe, and you can hear it again. But I'll talk a little bit about the creation process of it, just briefly. Talk about what it feels like to create protest music. Kind of, at least from my angle and my experience of kind of curating that together. That's going to be, I think it's something around 4 p.m. in the evening or something like that, maybe 4 or 5. I'd have to double check. I don't know if this is my sound check or what, but like, look for that. I'm sure you can find it on Facebook. Maine Inside Out. That's a group that's out here in the greater Portland area that does great work in our community. So if you don't know about Maine Inside Out, you should look them up as well. And then I do have coming up also on Juneteenth, Saturday the 19th, I'm going to be at the Juneteenth / World Refugee Day celebration in South Portland at Mill Creek. And I know that Kafari and Kenya Hall are going to be performing live music there.
Okay.
The goosebumps from when Kenya Hall plays with Amar Kafari are enough for everybody listening to this to definitely need to be there. But aside from that, I'm going to also be speaking a little bit about Black-owned Maine and maybe about creativity, probably about Black-owned Maine. And then that's going to be a vibe. There's going to be like a whole thing going on there. So I'm just shouting that out. I'm also shouting out Juneteenth. Celebrate, you know what I mean? At some point, a lot of the Black people that was already free finally was told about it. And what a day.
Right, yeah. No,
what a day.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's awesome that you're doing those events and on that day as well. And that's huge. Maine Inside Out isn't just some thing. They're a pretty big deal, and they help with a lot of stuff.
And they're talented, and they show up, man.
Yeah. So shout out to them, and obviously, be sure to check out, like we said before, Black Owned Maine and Maine Inside Out, and all the stuff that Genius Black is doing here. And so we got a few more minutes, but right now, pretty much we've talked about, stuff that you got coming out and all that good stuff. So if there was any music, I want to play Head Down for people that we've mentioned it a few times. We're going to play that. And then you had another one that you had said if we were to play for people to play, and I can't remember the name of it right now.
Oh, the Angelica Foray track?
Yes.
It's called Best of Me.
Right, Best of Me. Okay, so we'll just get into that. We're gonna play Head Down first, and this one here it's got a powerful message. It's brought together people like we talked about earlier that you wouldn't think that would normally work together, at least with the dude who's ripping on the hook. Totally talented guy, just wouldn't probably think that he'd be on here, but he really just put it all on this track.
I think that's so Tiny Foot. Yeah, Tiny Foot.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, that's my homie, and I hang out with him and I make great music with him, and like y'all will definitely be hearing like more music that's Genius Black and Tiny Foot.
Yeah.
And so I completely understand why you perceive it that way. But to me, because me and him made the core of it, and then I brought on the rappers, it's so interesting to hear that perspective, right? Because like we like breathed it out early one morning. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so when you sent it off, that was it was built in there already.
The chorus was there. Yeah.
So it made it really easy for the MCs to get on there and just do what they did. But yeah, let's jump into it. This is Head Down. It's got Tiny Foot, Drell, Shamik the God, and Shane Rise on it as well.
The homies.
Feel the revolution.
Head down, head down, head down, head down, head down, hands to the ground, head down, head down, head down, head down, hands to the ground. They say it's niggas killing niggas, never cops killing niggas. We try to speak, but they don't give a fuck about our feelings, cause it's drugs in my hood. Who supply the drug dealers just to run up in my house? Guns out, put your hands up and steal it off around to then claim that I'm a killer. Nah, too many ounces of our blood is spilled, taken from our mothers. Every day is growing numbers, but they love us still. What? See where I gotta deal with it. It's a burden, but they telling me I gotta live with it. I take pride in my skin, and I'm so instilled with it. Listen, it's like a target on my back, cause I'm black, and the way I wear my hat. Plus I got a couple tats. I'm a nigga, that's a fact. I can't change that shit, but now it comes a time where we ain't gonna take that shit. Nope. So see where they lead, I won't follow. You just gotta look around, but they still telling you to keep your head down, head down. Head down, head down, head down, hands to the ground, head down, head down, head down, head down, hands to the ground.
I'm the grandson of an immigrant. I see the thread is imminent. I can't play with these little minds. They ego on fictitious shit. They don't know what a statue mean, but they big mad when that statue leaning. We gon' burn it all to the ground, bro. Fuck what you believe in. It's all systematic. It's no equal right. Instant gratification for me to see this die. That way of life for the past dictates the way of life, but the past isn't transcripted correctly. Nah, they don't paint it right. The time is now, the time is now. Look at the army building. Look at this bright youth about to fight through, and they're smartly moving. Man, I'd love to die for this shit. My son is on the front line of this shit. This ain't no anonymous shit. You could add me, this is real life, no aesthetic. Black lives do matter, yeah, I said it. You can fact check it. Man, the leader of this country is a clown, and now we see the circus. Let's drag him to the surface.
Head down, I won't keep my head down, head down, head down, hands to the ground, head down,
my head up, cause them pigs will never let up. The trap was just a setup and they wonder why we fed up. No matter what, I'm still a slave to the system. Underpaid, unforgiven, so they lock us in the prison. And that's a strike that you're never gonna get rid of. Paid your debt to society, but you're still a nigga. Take that F and find a job and a place to live. You in the race with the racists to try and raise your kids, so they don't fall into the same shitty pattern. Every day I'm getting madder as to watch the world fracture. Police brutality always been my reality. Now they screaming blue lives matter and wanna challenge me, but I ain't even trying to hear it. If they shot me, then you cheer it, and it's eating at my spirit. Why the fuck you wanna put me in a box? Say I'm guilty when I'm not, so I'm saying fuck the cops, man.
Head down, head down, head down, head down, head down, hands to the ground, head down, head down, head down, head down, head down, hands to the ground. Hands to the
Yeah.
Bro, every time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we played that a bunch of times, but I could listen to it all day just because the whole vibe is always it just makes me feel a certain way. And the way that he's saying it, even though he's just saying, you know, head down, whatever, it's just the way he did it. It's all
Yeah.
that. I don't know if anybody could have done it, you know, any better than that. Definitely liking that shit. Yeah. So what was the process like for that? You mentioned that you guys just kind of did that one morning or something, messing around. You made that right there, and then you sent that off to everybody. How long do you think it took to get everything all back? Was it a while?
It was a while because, you know, people work at different paces. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
I think part of...
I heard Shane mention something about fuck Donald Trump in there, and he was still president. So that kind of put a time frame for me.
It
Seemed
did,
like
yeah.
a little while, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean very appropriately, because
Yeah.
the energy it comes from is relatively pure protest energy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know the litmus test of who exactly dips what and what to measure your protest energy, but feels pretty pure to me.
Yeah.
And the process, you know, that song. So what happened is I was like Tinyfoot was like around, like was with me, was visiting me, and we were working on music in general. He had his guitar, a couple things, a mic, an amplifier he brings sometimes, and we set up at the place where I was staying at the time. And you know, so the homie had come through to make some music, and we had at the moment we weren't even making music. We had went to my friend's house, and we were like chilling in her garden. Actually, I remember like at nighttime, vibing, and then we ended up like coming back to where I stayed, and his car wouldn't start. I think we played some music or something that night. I personally, one time he was telling the story and he thought we had started the song that night. I'm pretty sure that I started like a certain part of it in the morning. So I don't know. I think we would just continue to make beats that night. The reason I say that is that we fell asleep because like he was like, I'm gonna try to get my car fixed in the morning, try to get a ride or whatever, because he kind of had a long distance travel. So I was like, cool, just stay here, you know what I'm saying, because the car wouldn't start. So early in the morning, I remember I got up. I sometimes early in the morning, like I get up. I'm sure you know this too, homie, in terms of being a creator, you know, at least. That early morning, like you already know, like get right in it, because like it's already like I think I feel one, or like a vibe already happening. I didn't necessarily know, I didn't hear anything yet, but I remember waking up, and I swear I know it had to be like 7, you know what I'm saying, like maybe right before that, whatever. And by 7:30, I was already like sitting there, like kind of doing something. But I remember what happened is that as I sat at the workstation on the desktop, had been this sample I had sitting around for a couple months, maybe even a little outdated or something, I don't know. But it was just kind of like that, like hypnotic enchantress, like in the background, you know, that repetitive, you know what I mean? That part I had sitting kind of on my desktop, and I was like, I was waiting for a good time to use that sample. I think that's my vibe this morning. You know what I mean? Let's tour it. I was like, that shit sound hypnotic. You know, it seemed like it's trying to like lull you, like hypnotize you, kind of, you know? And so I put that, you know, set that sample down. think I probably started with like the kind of jumpy snare, you know, and then like start building the drums and stuff, and had the sample going, and then I remember Tinyfoot, he like woke up and put headphones on. He was like, "Bro, what is that?" I was like, "I don't know, something crazy is happening." I was like, "That shit," you know what I mean? Like you can kind of feel it sometimes. I was like, "Man, that shit." He was like, "No, definitely it's a vibe." So then he started like kind of humming and stuff, and I was like, "Oh wow, okay." He's kind of, you know, I can see he's like musically laying his mind, his musical mind into it, you know, just getting familiar.
Mhm.
I don't remember the exact order. I remember there's like little samples and shit in there, but I remember he played the guitar, he played the acoustic guitar, you know, like he composed that part, and like it's like I helped like shape it and like how to help do it, but he completely played it and he figured out the chords and all that, and then he you know, we recorded him and mic'd up his amplifier, ran into my preamplifier, into my compressor. I had the right side of my DBX compressor set with a nice setting for acoustic guitar, so I recorded it through a preamplifier and a compressor into the Mac. You know what I mean? Like from jump. So that's part of why the guitar, like so the homie Riddle out on the West Coast, he's an engineer I work with, Riddle. Riddle is dope, like RIDL, that's his name, Riddle. Yeah, he mixed and mastered it. And like he definitely made the guitar sound doper, but I really tried to capture him well from the beginning. So that's one thing I can say I think I did pretty well. But yeah, I captured his performance, and he had a really dope, like technically dope performance. Obviously, that helps as much as everything, right? It's the only thing, right? It's the beginning. He crushed it, and we could just tell. I was like, yo, that, you know, like every time you hear play, you'd be like, I don't know, man, that gives me a real fucking feeling. You know what I mean? Then when I was listening on playback, I actually thought of the words like head down, eyes to the ground, because for me it's an actual concept. Like the words came to my head, but it's because I knew what they meant. And I mean, what it meant was, I mean, not to go like super heavy, but I mean, like, I personally believe that a lot of people, like in the United States, for instance, they kind of walk around with a false sense of safety and security, and like that everything will be fine. But it's honestly like primarily provided by the role that they see the police playing, like specifically the police, not even like good citizens, not like libraries or church choirs. No, police, right? And I believe that there's this way of like structuring and seeing society in that way, where you're basically told, keep your head down, march around, walk around, live life, feel free, you're good, but keep your head down, keep your eyes to the ground. Don't look around and be fully aware of what this structure is doing to everyone around you, but you'll be good. But you keep your head down. But I'm going to sing it to you over this Enchantress sample and remind you that you're being hypnotized by that way of power structure thinking. And then the verses smack you with like, this is how it feels to me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, you know, so I think that like that. And then I said the lyrics of Tinyfoot, and he figured out how to sing it and harmonize it. Come on, man. Like the vocal production, like, you know what I mean? So like you were saying, like the way he sings it in there. I came up with the words, but the way he, you know what I mean? Like it's really his vocal production. So I mean, that's I was telling him the other day. I was like, yeah, you're definitely the co-producer on this, because like the way you did the guitar and the way you layered the vocals in there, like that shit, to me, it just really hits. You know what I mean? So yeah, but like having a homie here and like getting in the flow and being in the vibe, you know what I'm saying? Like was able to, but capture the way we felt. Like a lot of us had. Not everyone, but I'm saying a lot of us had been protesting. I definitely have been protesting in real life, out in the streets. You know what I mean?
And I know Shane was too, and I'm sure Sonique was out there also.
I definitely seen Shane, bro. So you know what I mean? Like,
so he was on the news. Matter of fact, that we talked about when he was on the podcast, out in Sanford or whatever, I think. But yeah, I mean, he was out there a lot. I know that me and my family were out there. So yeah, the way that it was the way that the song was done definitely gave the total protest vibe for sure. But yeah, shout out to the way that you rolled that song out too. You were pretty professional about it. You had like an EPK pack, like email. Like I remember you sent out like a link to like the SoundCloud, I think, to preview it before it dropped or some shit like that. So like,
Yeah.
you went right with it, and I can see that it's spiked up your Spotify too. From your number of monthly listeners is going up. It seems like it's catching on. I like the fact that when you go and intentionally make songs like that, I like to see them do good. Positivity reigns supreme, right? So we had a song like that too. Me and Dynamo P put out back in January too, called "Fist Up." That was like a protest song or whatever, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
The process for us was kind of similar in a way. It didn't take as long, but it was like the same thing. I had an idea, I laid it down, and I sent it in a folder, and he was the first person who was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get on it." And then, boom, he sent the shit back like 2 days later. I was like, "Sweet." So yeah, I mean, I like that whole idea. I know I had this project. It's kind of like, it's not like, I don't want to say on the back burner, but still kind of happening just really slowly. But the Dirigo project, which is going to be solely focused on, social justice and corrupt politics and shit like that. The whole project. Now, originally I thought, hey, this project's going to have 30 tracks, but realistically, it's probably going to be a shorter project. Probably be like 6 to 8 tracks or something like that. But because we got like 3 or 4 songs for it right now, and matter of fact, one of your like an interlude that you had done too is on there, and we want to get more too from you. So we're still working on that. But like you said, you're super busy with everything, so it's hard to commit to too many things. But we're gonna get something from you, I'm sure, before this thing is put out. And like I was talking to Shamik, it's not like an issue that's going anywhere. Unfortunately, it's something we have to continue to bring light to, and so no
Bro.
matter when this project comes out, it's probably unfortunately still going to be relevant. You know what I mean? So we can put this shit together and not really worry about having a time. I don't want to put a time constraints on it. I'm kind of letting it be so that the artistry can kind of be there.
So let me say this real quick. To talk about not putting time constraints.
Yeah.
I actually like that when we released Head Down in 2021, which by the way, it came out. I dropped that song on the unfortunate anniversary of the murder of George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I need as part of the remembrance and like think about what really happened and what has happened in that year, in that solid year. Right? So for me, like, yeah, man, I don't know. We got to use the music to it's unfortunate that some of these things keep happening, but like making protest art is important, but as well as like joy art and dance music, you feel me? But it's just, I just feel like it would be dishonest to not talk. You know how I was talking about earlier about making ignorant music and fun music and dope lyrical music. It's like, yo, sometimes there's days when like half my day I feel weird because there's this reality of like the actually not so much anymore because I feel like I've been making grounds just in my companies and stuff. But like that reality, it's like mind numbing as a Black person. Like the number of people who are just like telling you like, Black person, you're just so confused. You're just so confused. I know I'm not supposed to say it, but like you just don't know what's going on. It's like, I really do though. Like at least about these things, these specific things that you're telling me that for some reason that I just can't. Basically, what you're telling me is that you can't buy what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with what I know. You know what I mean? But like when I was younger, I just feel like that would like some days it would just like be it can weigh on you. You know what I mean? Like, and also the fact that like in the state of Maine, people are like, yo, there's no Black people here, so like there's no racism. So, you know, it's not like
right.
And it's like that doesn't make any sense at all. It's not even logical at all. You know what I mean?
No.
So, but these days, I mean, like
probably they just closeted racists around here. It's not like the South, you know what I'm saying? Where like you thought people are just like flying Confederate flags and stuff. And Trump brought a lot of that shit out here in the state of Maine more than you would see it before. Like people feel like people who are racist were more comfortable with it, and even still a little bit right now. But it's kind of gone away in a sense where we don't have to see as many Trump things out on the lawn and on people's vehicles and shit. But knowing, you know, kind of knowing that they're out there is still bad enough. But yeah, before that, you know, there's definitely fucking racism in the state of Maine. It's not even a question because there's racism in every goddamn state that you go to.
It's built into It's built into the systems too, so it's not like it
Right.
doesn't exist in that state.
No, it's there.
It's
there
built in.
You know, and that's evident. And I think at least, you know, it's not, and I'm not saying it's not as bad. I don't want to say it's not as bad, because it's bad. Racism in its own self is bad. But if you take it as like how much you face here in Maine, maybe it's less. But I'm feeling like it's because they're not saying it to people's faces. So a lot of times people will be like all friendly, and then behind your back they're saying shit, and that goes down a lot here in the state of Maine. I've witnessed it firsthand. So that's something that happens. And it doesn't really get addressed as much, because at least for a long time people tolerated it, you know. And now I think people aren't tolerating it as much. I know I don't tolerate it, any kind of shit that goes down. And there's been plenty of people in my life who I don't speak to anymore that were tolerant of it. We'll just say that, you know. So
yeah, man. Yeah.
Need to put a stop to it. The only way to do it is to fucking address it. So someone's racist, like, what's your fucking problem? You know, what's the real problem there? You got to just get right to it. Like, figure that out, because there should be none of it.
See, for me, I think that, yeah, I agree with you. I think people are too willing to accept it. Oh, it's gonna always be there. It's normal, or it's not that bad, or whatever.
Like that, or it's not like bad. Yeah, exactly. Like trying to downplay it.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of the, you know, it's part of the problem. It's part of why it's been around for so long. Mm-hmm. But, you know, man, for me, you know, I was talking to a group of high school age leaders, like young leaders in the state of Maine the other day. And one of them asked me about
Sorry, I got some kids going up the street right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I was like, somebody's hype, you know. Hey, you know, me too.
It's a nice night. The kids are out.
One of the students there, one of those young leaders, kind of asked me a question about, like, changing people's minds and kind of hearts, and white people, black people, and it was just a frank question. So I was like, all right, you know, I don't always frame things up like this, but, like, if I'm very frank with you, like, see, for me, man, it doesn't just lie in, like, the microaggressions, overt racism, covert racism. Is it high? Is it right behind your back? Is it in your face? All that's real. All that's real. Call it out when you see it, for sure. However, as a black person, I'm just going to say something. This is real. As a black person, if I let how much white people agree with me about racism, or how much white people understand the importance of anti-racism, or like agree that certain acts and things that we see in the news or they see at their school, if I let their understanding of their agreement of if and when those things are or are not racist dictate my life, my value, or my success, I probably wouldn't be alive right now. I probably wouldn't be here right now. So at a certain point, my goal is to change things at a system level, a money level, a city level, a civic level, a cultural level, a norm level, a policy, a procedure level, right? Not to convince people to be nicer to black people. And please do that. But if you think I'm spending all my time and my brilliance to convince you of that, nah. Right. I have to create systems to protect myself, because there's ignorant people active every day. And there's other people who sit back and watch them and go, I don't know. And I'm like, cool, well, if that's what you're going to do, how would you react? You know what I mean? So there's a certain reality where I just have to get active and, like, start a company to start supporting black businesses. And people in our inbox calling us names and telling us we're racist.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You support black business, that's racist. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's racist. Right? Mm-hmm. The other day, I had a guy in my inbox calling me the N-word. Just because I made a post and said something about George Floyd being a person who, you know, a year later had killed and, you know, had been murdered and was also a father and a brother and this and that, and made you know, this person wanted to come on Instagram. You know, comments are one thing. I don't focus much on comments, but I noticed that he made a comment about, like, oh, he could have just complied with the police or something like that. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, I mean, I feel like after the trial and everything, like, whoa, like who's still commenting that, you know, a year later that
wasn't complying? Like, what the fuck?
I don't even, like,
Did you watch?
That's the whole head down hypnotic shit going on right there.
Exactly.
That's what that is.
Yeah,
Just put your head down. Just comply.
Moments later, he's in my inbox calling me the N-word. I'll say that,
yeah,
though. You know what I mean? So it's like, but like, not because I said something crazy back or anything. No. Like that was really, that's his vibe. Like, okay.
Because you're right. That's the only thing he's got left to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is exactly so weak, yo. You know what I mean? I'm not sure maybe what he thought I would do or say, or you know what I mean? Because like, I'm from Texas. I don't even like what like that. Bro, you're lame. I'm powerful. Look at me. What are you talking about? Like, oh, that's what you're saying in my inbox? Like, hey, you know what I mean? You're a hard hitter, bro. Like, so weak. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just, but that's some people's vibe, and they're stuck there, unfortunately, you know. And there's not enough to challenge it and shake them out of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, even having the conversation like we're doing is powerful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? You know. So yeah.
Yeah. Anytime you can have a conversation about that is good. Because there isn't enough of that, I don't think, that goes on. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for the show. So I want to encourage everybody to check out Genius Black. You can find him on the socials at Real Genius Black. Just Google him. Go on Spotify, give him a follow, stay up to date with the music that he's putting out, and also check out Black Owned Maine and their podcast that they got going on too. And yeah, we'll hopefully get you back on later in the fall when we do season 2, which I don't think we'll really be taking a break, but in the fall we're booked till then, so it's like I really can't book anything until like November or whatever. So we'll definitely want to have you come back on, and hopefully between now and then you'll have some stuff that maybe will have come out, and we can talk about the new stuff, and we can get updated on everything else that you've been doing too between now and then. So that would be good.
Sounds super dope.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's it for the podcast tonight. And thanks to everybody for tuning in. Blucifer for hanging out for the
shout out Blucifer
bars. But yeah, to have a good night, everybody, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Hey. Peace.